Hello, dear friends. Did you know that in the history of Islam, a group in Medina hatched a plan to assassinate the Prophet of Islam? The attempt to assassinate Muhammad even dates back to before his birth and to the time of his fathers. What were the motivations behind this plot, and how did this attempt fail? Join us as we examine this lesser-known chapter of history. After Prophet Moses, the Jewish leaders and consequently other Jews deviated from the path of truth and killed the divine prophets who emerged to reform them. According to the prophecies of the Torah, this group was awaiting the appearance of two promised ones. By the time of the rise of Islam, one of them, Prophet Jesus, had already appeared, but the Jews, with their enmity, persecuted and harassed him, turning him into a lost prophet in history. The Jewish organization, which had access to a vast amount of information, recognized the future prophet, who was the second promised one, just like their own children. After Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, this organization no longer saw any threat other than Islam. On the one hand, the claimant religions of that time, such as Christianity and Judaism, spoke of a person who, upon his appearance, would purify the world from sedition, oppression, and injustice. The deviant Jewish organization, in order to ensure its own survival, was compelled to initiate the assassination operations against the fathers of Muhammad. The story begins when the Jews, upon recognizing the light of prophethood in the ancestors of the prophet, peace be upon him, and comparing it with the signs mentioned in the heavenly books, attempted to extinguish this light. The Jews started with the assassination of Hashim, the great-grandfather of the prophet. Hashim was from Mecca, but his grave is in Gaza, Palestine. He had left Mecca for trade towards Damascus and stayed as a guest with the chief of one of the tribes settled in Medina, named Amr ibn Zayd ibn Lubayd al-Khazraji. Hashim married Amr's daughter, Salma. After the marriage, Hashim took his wife to Mecca. When Salma became pregnant, as per the agreement made at the time of marriage, he returned her to her family in Yathrib for childbirth and himself went to Damascus for trade. Before leaving on the journey, he advised his wife that he might not return from this trip. God will grant you a son. Take good care of him. Hashim goes to Gaza, and after the completion of his trade, on his way back he suddenly falls ill one night. He calls his companions and tells them to return to Mecca. When you reach Medina, convey my greetings to my wife Salma and advise her to take good care of the son who will be born to her, for he is my greatest concern. Prophet Moses had informed the Jews about the coming of Prophet Muhammad. They were aware of the appearance of his father, mother, and lineage. They were adept in the science of physiognomy, which they had learned from Moses and had been passed down through generations. Therefore, Hashim's face was familiar to them, and the Jews knew very well that the prophet of the end times was from his lineage. But their arrow hit the target too late, and Hashim was assassinated when the seed of Abdul Muttalib had already been conceived in Mecca. Finally, the son of Hashim was born and raised in Medina, and they named him Sheba. As per Hashim's recommendation, the mother took charge of raising him, and interestingly, she did not remarry. One day, a man from the tribe of Banu Abd Manaf, while going for trade in Yathrib, Medina, saw one of the children claiming to be the son of Hashim while playing. He inquired about his well-being, and the child introduced himself. The man then conveyed this news to Muttalib, Sheba's uncle. Muttalib then took the child away with him to Mecca, either with the agreement of the mother according to another account. Upon Muttalib and Sheba's return, the Jews recognized them and attacked them, but they were miraculously saved. When Muttalib brought him to Mecca, the people, assuming he was Muttalib's slave, named him Abdul Muttalib, and this name remained with him. The Jews failed in their attempt to assassinate Abdul Muttalib, and from him was born Abdullah. Abdullah was a resident of Medina, but his grave is located in Medina, in the territory of the Jews. The Jews made several attempts to assassinate him, but they were unsuccessful. For example, one day Wahb ibn Abd Manaf, one of the merchants of Mecca, saw that the Jews had surrounded Abdullah, who was a 25-year-old youth at the time, and were trying to kill him. Wahb was frightened and went among the Banu Hashim and cried out, "Save Abdullah, for his enemies have surrounded him." Abdullah was miraculously saved. Wahb, who witnessed Abdullah's miraculous salvation and saw the light of prophethood on his face, proposed the marriage of his daughter Amina to Abdullah, and this blessed marriage took place. Dear friends, before continuing the story, if you want to hear the eventful story of the marriage of Amina and Abdullah, be sure to watch this video. I'm posting the link above. A few months after their marriage, when Amina was pregnant, Abdullah died in Medina on his return from Syria, and the arrow of the Jews missed its target for the second time, and Abdullah passed away in Yathrib in a suspicious manner. However, the line of assassination cannot be traced. Muhammad, peace be upon him, was recognized from the very first day of his birth. The arrows of the Jews to prevent his emergence have gone astray, and now they must eliminate Muhammad, peace be upon him, to reach their goal. When Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Muhammad, saw that in the environment of Mecca, which was the place of passage for commercial and pilgrimage caravans, Muhammad was not safe, he therefore secretly, and out of the sight of others, entrusted him to a wet nurse named Halima to keep Muhammad in a more distant land from Mecca and in a hidden manner. After 5 years, Halima returned Muhammad to his grandfather. The reason for returning Muhammad to Mecca was that he had been identified, and they wanted to take him with them. Therefore, that region was no longer safe. If the Jews had also asked the name of Prophet Muhammad's wet nurse from Prophet Moses, they would have found him in the first week. It was only due to the weakness of the Jews' information in this regard that finding the Prophet took 5 years. From then on, Abdul Muttalib became the guardian of the Prophet. After Abdul Muttalib, the protection of Muhammad was entrusted to Abu Talib. Abu Talib did not fall short in protecting the Prophet, peace be upon him, with complete wisdom. He would eat from the same table before the Prophet to see if it was poisoned, and then place it in front of the Prophet. At night, he would sleep next to Muhammad and have the children sleep beside him, so that if someone tried to assassinate Muhammad during the night, he would wake up. Abu Talib would step forward first in all places to ensure the absence of any enemies. This was the situation of the Prophet, peace be upon him, until the age of 25. At this age, the Prophet requested to engage in trade. Now, he was a mature young man, and no one dared to attempt an assassination on him. However, the next stage of the Jewish operation was to prevent the spread of Islam and the conquest of Jerusalem by Muhammad. Dear friends, if you enjoyed this story, be sure to like it and write your comments for us.